Hey folks, welcome back here to my channel, Whiskey Wismar. My name is Christopher, and today I have a first look, a first impression for you once again. Something that I don't do very often. I usually do actual reviews, so for whiskeys that I know, that I had a few drams of, and as I want to give it a mark that I'm pretty sure about. But even then, of course, reviewing whiskey, it's always a tricky thing to do, particularly when you give ratings. Here, however, I'd like to give you a first impression of my first society bottling. So Scotch Malt Whisky Society is an Edinburgh-based independent bottler that has a very special concept. For those who are intimate with them, who maybe are even members, they know all about it, of course. But for those who have never seen a bottle like this before, this is their standard bottle. They all look like this, same shape, same color, and they all have very sometimes cryptic, sometimes very descriptive labels or titles. In this case, Heavyweight Entertainment. So what's the whiskey? What's the single malt? Is this a single malt? It is single malt Scotch whiskey. So what distillery is this? Well, you have to refer to the cask number. This is Society Cask 35.276, which means nothing less than the first two digits before the dot is the distillery, sort of a distillery code. And in this case, number 35 is Glen Moray. And then the next number is the iteration of the cask. So this is the 276th cask that the society bottled of Glen Moray. It's one bottle of 254, and the age is given, of course, 15 years. It has almost 60% ABV and has a very interesting maturation history. It started its maturation in the first fill Moscatel hogshead, but it finished it, so they re-racked it then into a new oak, heavy char hogshead. So virgin oak, heavily charred. No idea why. We'll see. Already poured me a dram, and I opened this for the German take. But so this is quite fresh, and my first real contact with Glen Moray. They never really were very much on my radar, and as I said, the society always seemed to be pretty bad price-performance ratio for me, and I found their descriptors always a little not off-putting. It's a really interesting concept. Sometimes it's very descriptive. So what's your first impression, and then the label already gives you a good first glance at what you could expect. But overall, I've usually then deferred to other distillates and distilleries, and these are not very readily available in Germany. You really have to go through either secondary market or the society itself. This is not really something you find on the shelf of whiskey retailers. So let's see. Sweet. Maybe before I go into the whiskey, a little word on what this descriptor actually entails. They usually have also sort of a subtext for their title, in this case, Heavyweight Entertainment, and it says, and this is quite good actually, previously in the Moscatel hogshead, this dram is a heavyweight contest between Ricky Raisin and Okie Joker, refereed by Caramello Demerara. So set up like a boxing match between two heavyweights, and I can see why. It's very bold, very in your face, lots of sweetness, comes across like a pretty strong PX influence. But this is, I believe, more of a mix of a sweet wine and this heavy oak, heavy char oak influence. So this virgin oak is something that you could detect here if you want to see it or want to smell it. Reminded me at first nosing a little bit of Glendronach's cask strength, but not. I'm not too intimate with the latter or the later iteration. So batch 9, batch 8, batch 7, but the earlier ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to some extent. Glen Moray is unpeated, and there is no peat in this whatsoever. So it is sweet, lots of raisins. The oak is present, but not unpleasantly. So this is, I reckon, American oak. It's not very bitter. And this Demerara sugar that they are supposedly sort of refereed by, or is also quite present. So overall, a very nice first impression. Does this come across as 15 years? Hard to say. With an unconventional maturation like this, it's usually quite tough to gauge. Certainly does not come across as young. So on the palate. The oak is present, salivating, lots of saliva, very saliva inducing, not bitter whatsoever. So I'm pretty sure this is not European oak. That even the Moscatel hogshead was recupered, seasoned with Moscatel. Hard to say. I mean, 254 bottles. It's not a lot. It's really not a lot. Either there was lots of evaporation. Yeah, this could be too. Maybe there was a leakage in this Moscatel hogshead and they had to re-rack it. 254 bottles. That's not a lot, not even for a hogshead. Interesting, yeah. And then but for some reason they did not put it in a very inactive cask, just to do some subtractive maturation, so to take out some of the undesired components, but instead they put it into a new oak heavy char. I mean, this is like putting the maturation on steroids. So maybe the Moscatel hogshead wasn't really that great. Hard to say. In any case, no off notes. Very pleasant, sweet raisins, the Demerara sugar, and the oak is all there. So they're not lying. Earlier, I tried it neat with some water, and this Demerara sugar was much more pronounced. It really was like it sort of came down between the raisin and the oak and said, stop a second here. I have a word. I'd like to have a word as well. So, almost perfumed now. Yeah, good first impression. Very good to excellent even. I'll see how this one fares over its lifespan. And then when the fill level is down a little bit, I reckon I'll do a proper review, not here in front of the camera, probably not, but instead writtingly on Whiskybase. And I'm curious if this was worth it. It wasn't cheap. I got it through auction. So I paid £120, 110 pounds, but with Brexit and the customs change and of course exchange rates, it was more like 130, 140 euros. So really not cheap for a 15-year-old whiskey. But it smiled at me, so I had to do some clicking and some typing, and nobody else wanted it. So I got it for that price. So let me know if you had society bottlings before. What's your take on them? Did you have Glen Moray before? What's your take on that distillery? And that should be it. So pretty good a first impression. It made a good first impression. I hope you have a nice week. Stay healthy and see you next time. Bye-bye.